I like to start with what I know and then work towards what I don't know. To take the formality of the house and the informality of the woods and kind of make the two combine. How not to mulch around a tree. It's a step that I see very few landscapers doing. You want to make sure to have variation in your heights. If you sell yourself as a landscape professional, you should know how to do the job right. How you doing today, folks? Today I want to talk to you a little bit about how to go about blocking an air conditioner. And I want to apologize ahead of time. I forgot the tripod today, so there's going to be some pretty funky camera angles in this one. Now, you could certainly go out and get some fencing to put in front of an air conditioner. You could do some kind of wall. You could do some pots. But for me, as a landscape designer, I like to just put plants in front of air conditioning units because I just want to screen them and create a green wall. The two plants that I've found that work best for screening air conditioners are either Japanese holly or common boxwood. And there's two different reasons to use either of those shrubs. If I want a quick cover, if my budget is limited, I will go with the Japanese holly. And I'll usually use a cultivar called either Steeds or Chesapeake. Steeds and Chesapeake are both more upright forms of holly. So you'll plant those about every 3 feet on center, give or take. And depending what size you get is how quickly you can screen the air conditioner. The minimum I put in is, say, like a 3-gallon shrub. Usually I'll do like a 5, at least a 5, and then a 7 or even a 10-gallon shrub, depending how quickly you want to block your units. And you just measure how far it is in front of the air conditioner, divide by 3, and then add 1 for the ends, and that's how many shrubs you need. The other option I'll do, like I said, is common boxwood, and I'm going to switch arms here because my arm's getting heavy. The other option I'll do is common boxwood, and I'll use common boxwood, which is going to be more expensive up front for the shrubs, but I'll use common boxwood for 2 reasons. One, if it's an older home like the one we're working at here, common boxwood, it just fits in, it looks more appropriate at the house. So that's one reason to use it. And then the second reason is common boxwood is going to grow much slower than your Japanese holly. So it's not going to be as much work to go ahead and prune it back. We're in the front of the house and we have these fairly old air conditioning units that the paint is faded, they're not looking so great, and we just want to make them go away. We don't want to draw any attention to them, so what we're going to do is just go ahead and put a line of boxwood in front of them and just make them disappear. These are what's known as a 24-inch boxwood. So from the base of the plant to the tips should be around 24 inches. I'm pretty sure these are actually pushing more like 28, possibly 30 inches. But what I did is I just took the row of boxwood and I just put them in a line, you know, give or take the right spacing to get the job done. And what I'll do now is, before I start planting or working on planting, I'll take a look at the line, the hedge, and I'll see if there's any of these boxwood that look like out of place. Maybe there's one that's short and fat next to a real tall, skinny one, and I'll move them around. 1, 2, so the second one in, 3, 4, 5, and the 5th one in. Those are both a little bit off, so I'm going to see if I can swap those out with the 2 around the back, where people aren't going to see them as often, and see if that looks any better. I've moved those 2 around, and now the hedge looks a lot more uniform. They all seem to be at similar heights, similar look, and again, you know, this is nature. You're never going to get things to look perfectly the same, but the more you can, you know, make things even out and look more natural, the better. The reason I'm making this video and the reason I'm showing you my process is because you only want to have to plant these boxwood once. And if you just go at it haphazardly, invariably you'll get them all in the ground, and by the time you get them in the ground, you'll notice there's 1 or 2 off, and you'll have to dig them up and replant them. Work through this process a step at a time, And even though it seems like it takes longer to do, we're saving ourselves work on the back end. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through with my utility knife and I'm gonna go ahead and cut off all the burlap and remove the burlap from the roots. And I may not even remove it all. I may just pull the plants out straight ahead in front, cut the burlap and leave it on the burlap. You have to be careful when you take all the burlap off because some of the roots are going to be loose. I like using the utility knife, which is yellow because it's easier to find when you put it down, because you'd be amazed how quickly the burlap is going to dull if you have like a pocket knife. It dulls it very quickly. So I just prefer to bring a utility knife and use that to cut the burlap so I can always get a fresh blade when I need one. Sometimes you can get the burlap off if you find the knot and you just untie the knot. It really depends on the nursery and how root bound they are. And see, these have a little bit of twine in there, and you want to make sure if there's any twine around that trunk, you get it off. And just take a look at the top of the root ball. Make sure there's no twine wrapped around the trunk because that's not good for it. And then I just like to knock off any loose soil in there. For the sake of what we're doing, we can just leave the boxwood out. I'll just move them all out like 1.5 feet, and then I can move them back after I dig the hole. Also be careful because there's going to be nails in the burlap. Nice rusty sharp nails, which are not good if they catch you. I went ahead and planted all the boxwood, but I didn't plant them all the way. I dug the holes, I put them in the right height, I spun them around so the best face is facing forward, but I didn't finish planting them because what I want to do is I want to make sure I leave them easier to move if I need to. If for some reason I notice along the process that maybe one of them's smaller or one of them is not quite in line. What I'm going to do next is just go ahead and backfill around the shrubs. I'm going to make sure I put all the dirt around the roots, not on top of them. And then I know these plants are going to get plenty of water. I've got very conscientious homeowners who I know will take good care of them. So I am not going to worry about doing a well around all these boxwood. But if you're ever planting a hedge and watering is going to be an issue, you know, you don't have to do a well or a circle of soil around each one. Just make like a whole trough around the entire hedge, and then you can just go ahead and, you know, put the hose on that trough. I went ahead and raked around all the shrubs. I finished backfilling. What I'll do is I'll just go over the shrub and I'll look for any broken branches or any branches that are like sticking out too far, like this guy right here. And we will just go ahead and, you know, I'm not trying to make these into perfect balls. I just want them to be as uniform as they can be. And then you see, you'll find some branches, like there's one down here, that it got broken while I was planting it. And if I didn't cut this one off, it would turn brown and just be an eyesore in another couple weeks. There we go, folks. There is the end result. And I think we'll agree that that looks much better than looking right at those air conditioners. Well, folks, that's going to do it for today. I hope you picked up a few tips for the next time you plant a boxwood hedge. That is exactly the way I do it, so hopefully it's going to help you out. One thing you might be asking is, you know, why go to so much trouble to make the hedges the same amount apart and look uniform? And my reasoning is, you know, if you sell yourself as a landscape professional, you should know how to do the job right. And I would never expect, if I had surgery, a surgeon to ask me, you know, does the surgery look right? Or a plumber to ask me if the pipes look right? Or a painter to ask me if the paint looks right? I expect the person doing the work to know how to do it because they're a professional and they're an expert. And I guess that's why, you know, I wanted to make this video to show you how it's done. Because, you know, it bothers me when I hear people say, ask your customer if it looks right, and if they don't say anything, it's fine. I think it's up to us to know what's supposed to look right and to set the standard for the industry. So that's my little tangent for today. Thanks a lot for watching, folks, and we'll see you soon. Take care.